to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. You guys signed the payroll warrants?
Yep, good to go.
The minutes, everybody was comfortable with it?
Yep. I obviously didn't sign since I wasn't here, so, but they're good to go.
Oops, sorry about that.
You're good to go on that.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Signing it, no, it's signing that right.
Yeah.
Subject approval for Meadows and Wood.
Morgan is a updated one.
Yeah.
Just has a small adjustment.
Small adjustment.
I highlighted.
I signed it. I
Oh,
signed
okay.
it. And then Morgan, make sure I sign this, and then we sign one. Did you have two in here?
Yeah, Meadows and Morgan.
Morgan, I think I have a stamp on it.
And that needs to be signed,
Yeah,
that's a health officer.
I know, but that's the stamp.
Okay.
So I just cross it off and I'll make sure they understand.
Did you receive these today?
Morgan's I did. Meadows I received.
Okay, so I just got the date here, 24.
Yeah.
Okay, so those two. I and Rotary Gun Saunders Hill Road. I'm gonna read it. Did you see this?
I saw it, yeah, and they're one of the ones that have written in a letter before with the Snowmobile Club stuff.
Right.
So they've already communicated once.
So have they talked with the Snowmobile people?
That I don't know. I saw,
Because they were supposed to, before we do anything, they were supposed to talk with the Snowmobile.
yeah, so Steve Davis, the trail guy that we put in touch with, emailed me back about the last Classics Road Committee meeting. He didn't make it. But he said that he was about to contact a few people up there, and they're one of them. But either way, that doesn't necessarily affect whatever they were doing.
Yeah, this letter is writing on behalf of Ronald Boucher and Stanley Lesko, both are co-equal owners of Green Camp. Receiving permission from the town to install a farmer's gate on Saunders Hill Road at our boundary line just before the log landing. And that's
Go halfway up.
halfway up from Hooper Hill Road, coming up that way.
No, this is coming in from 25.
Okay, from 25 on Saunders Hill Road, I'm halfway up. Okay.
Have a look at the class 6 section, give or take some.
Okay. And Paul, you familiar with that spot is?
I think I walked up to that spot, the exact spot when 2 weeks ago, I think. Yep, I think I know exactly the log landing.
Okay.
Yeah, you described it to me, and you told me you've been up there.
Right. Yep.
So they want one gate there, and are they gonna gate it up on Ellsworth Hill Road too? Where it comes over from, Camp Victory?
That's all private, that's already gated.
That's already gated.
That's already gated.
This road goes up around Saunders Hill and back down to Hooper Hill.
Back to Hooper Hill. So that's kind of the intersection that the Snowmobile Club's been working on.
Okay.
But if they want to get permission, and then if they do have a different deal with the club later.
So I understand this later, they're gonna do the work.
That's what that's like. So my only suggestion is to that, is I think they that they have to have it on their land, but I'm wondering if it would make more sense to put the gate at the beginning of the Class 6 road section, and just don't let them, it's a 2-rock road, so as long as it's not wider than 32 feet, then they can put it at the beginning of the Class 6 section. And I know the other owner there with the log landing,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't have a problem communicating between them and the owner.
Okay, that's my sense is that I think, oh, now that's gonna affect your plowing.
Well, I mean,
How do you wanna do that?
You don't plow above his log landing.
no, not at all. I had never even plowed across the culvert. I'm just gonna do the best I can this year and try to push it to each side.
Yeah,
Eric Mackey has been very nice, and he said he'll go out with his tractor and push it over into the brook and stuff if we can't get it there. I'm just gonna try to make it as open as possible so I don't leave a huge mound of snow there for Brett Sandy.
That's the exact same spot that you brought me before, right?
That is,
Yeah.
and I think that's a good spot for a gate, somewhere up near the log landing. However,
right around the culvert, I mean, yeah, around the log landing.
Yeah.
You can't-
but I mean, however, I think you probably know that the town can't actually spend any money on gates no matter where they are.
No,
They're gonna put the gate in.
Okay.
they're gonna put the gate in, that's why I was asking you, but
My only suggestion is to allow them to put it down at the bottom.
I
of the
put it-
plastics car.
put it farther down so the decision for trespassing is to make it right away.
Yes, right. And then we
And,
could,
and also it's closer to Mackey's house, so there's, you know, there's potential visual on people that are using it.
That would make more sense at the beginning of it, you know, where Classics Road starts, rather than further up into it, to be honest.
because then you get halfway up and then there's the gate and people are already driving up through the first half.
Right. Maybe they expect that to be able to maintain before that, I don't know.
Right. So the only other suggestion on top of that is that one of those, do we have a classics, those classics road signs, do we already have one there at the bottom of the road? Because it might be nice to have one
I
that's
did, and it has disappeared since April.
been stolen.
So,
Interesting.
Well, we'll get
So
it.
I have 4 of them down in the shop,
okay, just talk,
and I also have 10 red and white signs, 24 by 18-inch signs on order that say pass it over risk. So those will be going up with them too, but if they keep
Okay.
stealing them, I don't know what we're gonna do.
I don't know what they're doing with that. Okay, so make a
It's in a
motion,
college dorm somewhere.
I make a motion that, we allow these people to, put a gate. The gate should be at least 14 feet in width. Doesn't need to be a 16-foot.
Yeah, the road's pretty narrow right now.
I know, but I'm saying, it's gotta be, you can't have too small a gate. At least 14 feet. And it will be positioned on the class 6 portion of the road. How do I describe it?
I'd say at either where it's at their log landing or at the bottom, and at their discretion. I mean, we give permission for either, and I'll coordinate if you want.
Okay,
I'll-
and the position of the gate will be in coordination with Jordan King. Okay?
Yep.
We want to identify.
I'll coordinate.
Yeah.
Sure, you don't wanna change the wording to be specific at the bottom. I mean, I feel a lot better if it was specifically at the bottom.
Okay, at the bottom, in conjunction with Jordan King.
It would make more sense.
I can't do the GPS point on it right now.
Right.
I would say
Just beyond our
the other side of the culvert.
Okay.
That's what I would say it needs to be.
On the other side of the culvert, just past Eric Mackey's property.
Yeah.
I want to be really specific.
Okay, hang on, I want to make sure, Linda's trying to get it.
I mean, should I put past?
What?
It's pretty.
I meant, let me look at it, and then I'll
He's gonna
talk,
look at it.
I'll talk to
His
the
GPS
other
Okay, then the
landowner.
GPS point will be,
Okay.
we don't know the GPS point right now, but he will have it, and he'll give it to Linda, and that'll be the position of the gate, because we gotta do that.
Okay. Understood.
I'll also convey that it has for, he wrote in his letter, but he understands it has to be unlocked, easily opened, etc. It's an unlocked gate.
It's a chain gate, yeah.
Or a cattle gate or whatever, but it's unlocked and easily opened.
Right.
So I second the motion.
And I'll vote yes.
And just so we're clear, I'm thinking in terms of those gates you can buy at the tractor store. not
Yes.
really-
Wait,
Yeah, farmer's gate.
Yeah,
I
there's
vote
different
yes.
kind of cattle gate. Yes. I vote yes.
Yeah, like the aluminum style ones.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we're going to do that.
Could I get the Oregon plan?
Sure.
She's-
Oh. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. bids.
Are all the bidders in attendance tonight? You guys,
No,
you
just
guys are
one.
bidders?
I got 3 bids. These are the 3?
Yes.
Drum roll.
Yeah, oh, geez.
Could have done a lottery. Old ball.
You're a musician, right, Mikey? Right? No?
Open
I thought you were. Karaoke.
Okay. The town would like to take this up for what I did on that block this time. We have never done this before. Just wanted to explain why this would be important to us. We are not sure if this matters to you. Okay. Amount. 28,000. That's 28,000.
Who was the bidder?
Uh,
Some names.
Ben Carlisle, Satcher Barth, and Valletta Bridges.
Okay.
It's interesting. You live in New Hampshire, Carlisle, and grew up in the community, has to offer, not coming from families with lots of money and land passed down, but we have worked hard for what we do have for years. We searched for roofront property, but it's never been in our budget for vacation. We love the feel of a small town community like Wentworth, and along with that, it's that the beauty area is natural and it still survives. That's why they for it.
Okay, for 28,000.
John H. Archibald, 27,050 cents. See, I don't know for a lot of minutes. Public notice of sealed bids. $30,000 Bernetta K. Morse from Woodstock Highway. Okay, I think that's the high bid. Okay. Any questions at all? Okay. Ready to make a motion on this, or?
I think we probably
Well, I made the motion after opening the 3 sealed bids, and all bids were in the right ballpark. But we're going to accept the highest bid of $30,000 from Bernetta K. Morse, 328 from Woodstock Highway, Wentworth, New Hampshire, 132.
I'll second that.
Yes.
Vote yes.
Oh, yes. I'm going to say the people. Oh, it's good, Steve, before I get it.
Now, I attached my purchase
Oh, yeah.
and sale agreement. I will fill in the front page, with the, with Renetta's name, whatever, if you don't mind signing it before I fill it out, I'll make sure you get a copy. Just because that's the only way to get things rolling, or we'll have to wait another 2 weeks, and
questions or anything?
I had just a comment asking if we can speak up or turn down the AC. It's, I think,
How about
overpowering.
we try to speak up?
Okay.
Yep.
That sounds good to me.
Otherwise, I'm not gonna be able to function. So,
Okay.
I'll turn it to
Okay, thanks.
Grayson.
Thanks.
Did you?
Okay, we were given agreement for additional well water samples.
Yeah, that just came in today. Because the landfill is leaking some stuff.
Surprise,
Transfer
surprise.
station, huh?
I said surprise, surprise.
And,
That's
so it's
new though, right?
requiring what, huh?
That's new though, right?
You know what?
Yes.
I don't see it here.
It's at the very end. It says leaving. It's $1,075.
Okay, it's what?
$1,075, and then we're gonna have, the lab results from analytical.
So why do we have to do this?
Because the landfill, every year we get it tested, our homes around the landfill, the wells,
Yeah.
stuff get tested. And they found a compound that was, above the allowed.
You're right. Okay.
So they have to do, testing. And in some cases, we have to see what happens, and in some cases, we may have to provide bottled water to them, or put in some sort of a well filtering, a water filtering system. It's up to the town to do all this stuff. It would be a water filtering system in the individual homes.
Okay.
But it hasn't come to that, we're still in the testing stages.
So they got, this is a state policy. that they
Yes.
use. Okay.
Well, it's because they found.
Yeah, no, I think it's good to test. I just want to make sure we're doing the right thing. So this is three houses.
Are they all on like bullseye road? It must be all at once.
One's
Okay.
Turner, I think one's Turner and two of Bullseye.
We got two on Turner Road.
Oh, two on Turner,
One on Goes Lane.
Bullseye. Bullseye curve. What did you put, Bull's Lane?
He's got 65. When I'm sitting here thinking, how does 64 Turner Road, 19 Turner Road, Turner Road is above.
There's one residence right across from the transfer station.
On Turner Road?
Bob Pike, yeah. He lives
Yeah,
there.
there is one right there.
I guess if you had an artesian well that went
Yeah, I
down.
was gonna say again, it's above it's above, yeah, the landfill that was underneath.
Yeah, but if you have a 200-foot artesian well.
You drinking the water at the highway garage?
Oh my God, no.
Might want to put a sign up next to the.
Now, this 116 Goes Lane.
Must be the worst house.
Must be Hinckley's.
That's a big distance away.
No, it's not.
Yes.
So,
I didn't even see
No,
those
I mean-
addresses.
116?
that's not Hinckley?
I don't believe so.
It's gonna be the dump.
It's literally the next property. It's the first property after you get on the Goes Lane.
Everything.
Transfer station's right here, this Goes Lane.
Oh, it's Hinckley's place.
Oh, it is.
Huh. Now, that's a long ways away.
Yeah, hopefully that fog's not contaminated.
Not really.
Do we know which well tested? They don't tell us which one. That's the one that's tested.
Okay, well, we gotta do it. And you see any other options?
If DES tells us we have to do it.
Yeah. I need to sign this
Yes, on the bottom of that first
as
page.
the client.
Do we already have money budgeted hopefully for something? No?
No,
So,
These are add-ons.
should we, I'm guessing we should probably make a motion to do that. Then.
to do what?
If we don't have the money budgeted for it, to typically would have to make some type of motion to actually go through with it.
She'll move it from something else.
We just, by the reserves, we just
Okay,
can't go
alright.
over in total.
Understood.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So that's Hinckley's place and.
Bob Pike,
Lot line,
and I don't know what the other address is.
which is surprising, but
I can give you all the addresses there. 116 Goes Lane, 19 Turner Road. I think is uphill. That's what surprises me.
yeah,
And 64 Turner Road.
Actually, 19
That's right at Buffalo, right?
Turner Road. Is that the guy that lives down on the hill, basically on Bullseye Curve?
That
But
would be my summation.
yeah, that probably would make more
That's
sense.
the only house I can see that's at risk. You get farther down,
I can't remember his name, an older gentleman that lives down on the
we're
hill.
talking 64.
You can actually access his house better from Bullseye Curve. But
say again?
Yeah, it used to be, one of the Jenkins lived there, in that house, I think that we're
Yeah.
talking about.
huh.
The 19th is where they're anywhere close to the
Okay, well, they gotta test them, but at least let's keep that in our rules where that is. Okay, and then, an additional item is on the, position, this is on, multiple dwellings per, plot. Requirements of state law, position, and this is the position of Wentworth Planning Board. There's a,
Barney, do you want me to speak to that? Because I actually have all the information
Oh, you
on
do?
that. Yeah.
okay, she's,
So I know she wrote up a very detailed email,
yeah.
but it is very detailed. So, a resident on North Dorchester Road has a primary residence, and they also have 2 trailers on their property, which they're going to be utilizing on a more permanent basis. They were trying to verify if they needed to do any type of subdivision or subdividing of their property to utilize both of those trailers. Ultimately, but by what Marina's indicating, if there is an attached accessory dwelling and one detached accessory dwelling, then they would be fine. But since we're talking 2 detached accessory dwellings, there has to be a subdivision made for that, and it has to be on land where at a later time, if they wanted to even subdivide those 2, they have to be on their own separate 1-acre lots. So they can't be on top of each other ultimately.
Is that our minimum lot size in town, 1 acre?
1 acre, right? So
So they, bottom line is they need to do a subdivision.
Absolutely, and there needs to be proper permitting as far as the driveway goes and the septic, obviously, for these 2 accessory dwellings.
So 1 acre minimum, driveway,
And full subdivision.
What's that?
And full subdivision, which requires septic, test pits.
Right.
Can't use the same leach field for 3 separate dwellings.
No, so they gotta do test pits for each one of those lots.
Are they mobile homes or are they travel
Travel
homes?
homes. I think they're like 14 by 17 full size homes. They've been sitting there for a few years, but they,
so you get to the, I make a motion that, we get back to these people, we need to have a subdivision, 1 acre minimum, driveway permits, and, septic system, and test pits for each dwelling.
so has the planning board not already reached out to the letter for that?
So this family came to the last planning board meeting. Marina wasn't there at the time, so what I had done was I actually saw Marina at one of our fire department meetings and went over to chat with her and had a conversation with her there. She then generated some emails around, or actually I had generated an email and then she replied back with this. which is obviously more than we possibly could need and very much appreciated.
So she agrees with what we just said, like that's her opinion.
That was
Oh, no, that's coming from her.
We sent the question to the planning board, this was their recommendation, they don't have the ability to enforce, we do.
Oh, so that's why, I was trying to make the link of why we're involved, not the planning board sending the letter. If they don't follow the regulations, we have to
Yeah, we have
send the letter and
state
enforce
law,
it. Yeah.
septic systems and all of that, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna send a letter.
And we have, an address and a person's name.
I have the email address of the family. It's
Dorchester Avenue.
right.
The planning board must have the tax map and lot numbers and names.
What I have they gave me the information and a lot of numbers actually associated with the property. I have that. I probably should have brought it today, but I have it at my house. I can, if you want, I can get with you. We can generate an actual letter to them.
I'll just write something that they need to attend the, planning board meeting.
Okay, that would,
Submit a subdivision.
that's right. Okay, that would actually probably be best, and then Marina can address them directly as well.
All right, so I'm making the motion.
I'll second that.
I'll vote yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we went through that. We had a successful dinner on the bridge. That was well received in the town. We had 100 people attend. Right.
I just got a message from Chief Trot of what you were just speaking of. And he says they will also need I don't know what he was trying to type. It looks like a separate 911 address.
Oh,
for the
yes.
Planning board
Right.
to assign to them.
That would be done during the subdivision process, I assume.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay,
but you know
just-
what? We'll all assume that, but
Sorry to interrupt you.
improve that, yeah, I appreciate you letting us know, and that should be in the letter.
That's right, because any building that's occupied by people has to have a number.
Yeah. And I guess from last year's meetings on these trailers and stuff like that, as long as people move the trailers, they don't need lights.
These are permanent.
Right. Well, up on Turner Road, there's a bunch of trailers in there that look pretty permanent. Past, coming up, there's a high spot where it drops down.
Those are travel trailers.
Where are you at? I'm looking
Randy's, just right next to Randy Morrison's house.
Couple down, yeah.
couple down. So those are those mini homes or whatever, small house.
Yeah.
They're on wheels, and they can move, tiny house, yeah.
Okay, so they have self-contained septic tanks.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, because there was,
You would
that
hope
was
so.
the problem with people down by the river last year. Okay, I'll just review it in my mind. Okay, you're gonna give the police report tonight?
I am, sir, thank you.
Good.
Mr. Chairman, thank you,
Yes.
board members, members of the public. I have the activity report presented 8/24/2021. Chief Trot's notes say, please note that the following is a summary of notable activity conducted by the Wentworth Police Department, but does not reflect all of the Wentworth Police Department's activity during this time frame. Chief Trot was stopped by a motorist while on patrol and advised of a house cat that had been struck by a vehicle and was still laying in the road in the area of Route 25 and North Dorchester Road. Chief Trot located the animal and discovered that it was a bobcat and it had been struck and not a house cat. New Hampshire Fish and Game was contacted and the bobcat was turned over to them for testing and documentation. He further indicated bobcats are still protected by the state of New Hampshire and are closely monitored by the New Hampshire Fish and Game.
Was it dead?
It sounds like it.
Yeah. That was stay around.
Saturday, August 14th was a busy day in Wentworth. As Karen indicated, the town of Wentworth hosted the Dinner on the Bridge event, as well as the Mount Moosilauke ATV Club hosted a benefit run. The Iron Legacy Motorcycle Club did a benefit run for Special Olympics, and the Wentworth Farmers Market was open and operational. Additionally, the Rumtown Speedway started back up after a 2-week break, and all of these events ran smoothly and were uneventful. Chief Trott assisted the Warren Wentworth ambulance on several medical calls in Wentworth over the last 2 weeks. One of those calls consisted of an 87-year-old man who had cut his leg with a circular saw. Chief Trott arrived on the scene within 1 minute of receiving the call and was able to render emergency first aid and control the bleeding until the Warren Wentworth ambulance arrived. The ambulance crew rendered further aid to the resident, and who was then transported to the local hospital and later airlifted to Concord, where he is expected to make a full recovery. Chief Trott spoke with several Wentworth residents in the area of North Dorchester Road, Rowantown Road, and Cross Road regarding complaints of OHRVs, which are off-highway recreational vehicles, operating on those mentioned roads. The residents were very helpful and cooperative, and Chief Trott feels that the issue has been resolved. Chief Trott arrested a Wentworth resident on an arrest warrant that he obtained for disobeying an officer and reckless driving. The charges stem from an incident that took place recently where Chief Trott attempted to stop a motor vehicle for a speeding violation, and the operator of the vehicle failed to stop. Chief Trott called for and was assisted by the Orford Police Department, the Piermont Police Department, and the Grafton County Sheriff's Department. Chief Trott was familiar with the vehicle and the operator, and they were located a short time later. The operator of the vehicle eventually took responsibilities for his actions and admitted to the offenses. He was released by the Plymouth court and given a future court date where he'll be arraigned on the above charges. Please note that he was very cooperative and that the arrest was made without incident. And finally, Chief Trott wants to remind all residents in the community that the 2021-2022 school season will be starting up again very shortly in our community as well as our sister communities. We ask that everyone be mindful and cautious of the school buses on the roads, at bus stops, as well as students at bus stops and the schools that you may be driving by.
Thank you. That reminds me of one thing that has come up. We went to, you might comment, we went to the school board meeting, and since that school board meeting, there was a parent there that wanted to, she was right on the Orford line, we talked about this last year. She was trying to get her kids into this school system because of philosophical differences in the education in Orford. Because the Orford kids are moved to Vermont, where they have critical race theory over there, but they don't have it here. So I talked with Beth, who's the representative, and she was a key person in passing the state law that legislated against CRT teaching. And she's aware of this lady's plight. I also talked to people in Concord on the Education Committee. There's precedent to move students to this school system. And it was done through Berwick, Maine, and Ellsworth, Maine. And when they moved the student, the funding that was allotted for each student moved with that student to the school that they went to. So I talked with Beth last Saturday morning and brought this to her attention about the Berwick and the Ellsworth school systems between Berwick, Maine, and Ellsworth. She's aware of that. She's going to bring it to the attention of people in Concord to see if we can move students from Orford and take the funding that goes with those students and put it into the Wentworth school system. She also brought up the fact that there's 30 students that are in the Orford school system that now go to Vermont. She felt that there's a good chance you got to offer whatever you offer to the 2 students of this mother that's coming, you got to offer to all 30 students. So there's potential to, from a financial point of view, increase the finances for the Wentworth school system by that's a significant, but that means they've got an increase in 30 students a year. So this is all something I'm trying to work out. Any comments on it, or?
I suppose that one, yeah, I mean, you increase the amount of students, I suppose you obviously need to make sure you have the staff to support all that as well. So I
It's
don't
up to
know.
the principal to do that.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, that's pretty much where we stand. The school board was a little, they didn't want to rock the boat, but people felt bad for this lady. They're real careless for the education of the kids. And we got a good education system here, and we might as well take advantage of it. Because it'll be efficiency issues. Is anybody opposed to this?
I'm not opposed. I was just gonna say that depending on the kid and if they're on IEPs,
They're not.
20,000. Well, I'm saying if you offer it to all 30, all 30 could be
I can't speak for the 30.
Right. Potentially it may not be as financially worthwhile, or it could be more financially on our community.
Yeah.
It could work out for us.
We got to explore these options,
Yeah.
because right now, the way the school budget is, they take 65% of every dollar.
Yeah.
And it's not sustainable. And so we've got to get creative somehow to
Yeah.
make our school system sustainable.
Yeah.
And economy of numbers is one of the ways to do it.
I think that would put a strain on the school. 30 students is increasing it by 50%.
Oh, yeah.
We
And,
got to hire more teachers.
yeah, and, there's all sorts of expenses that come with it.
Not all 30,
But I'm
the
just
potential
saying,
one of it.
yeah,
Right now, it's a minimum of 2, whatever offer you do, you got to give it to all 30. That's the fair way to do it.
I got
but I would think though that, it would kind of just be an even exchange. I mean, it's gonna cost us just as much to house them and teach them and transport them and all that.
And right now, they got to transport 40 minutes to get over to Vermont.
Yeah,
And
so
it's a
it
lot
would be,
closer to come here.
yeah. I just don't know how it would work. But,
Yeah.
Well,
Well, just
decide
will work its way out.
in the economy districts, and they'll bring it to the SAU and back up that way, but I think unless you rattle some cages here, nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't see why New Hampshire students are going to school in Vermont.
Yes. Yeah, that's what ticks me off.
And they don't even have, like, they're voting, they're not electing representatives in Vermont that are pushing these
Yes,
theories.
New Hampshire money, clearly these people are upset about New Hampshire tax dollars going to Vermont, where Vermont has a different philosophy of education.
Very different.
Yeah.
Vermont tax dollars went into that school, so it's all like.
Right.
Again?
But Vermont tax dollars went into the high school in New Hampshire.
Right.
Right. So that's probably a big trade-off.
Sounds like they need to just split it. You're on one side of the river, you stay on that side of the river.
Yeah. That's why we got, that's why we got.
Wait it out, see what happens.
Chief,
Did you have something?
No.
You're good, go ahead.
It was answered.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. You know what, you and Chief are gonna talk about the ambulance offline.
I can talk to them offline about that, that's fine, yeah.
Okay.
Want my report?
Yes, I do.
So it's a little bit lengthy tonight because we've had a lot of calls for service. The first one we're talking about is a call to home in North Dorchester for order of gas in the building with a homeowner feeling ill. So we went in with gas detectors. They had already vented the rooms before we arrived on scene.
Okay.
So with our gas detectors, we saw 0 parts per million of any issues. But the ambulance service did patient care, assessed, and then went.
Did they have a leak?
Apparently, there was a leak. We shut the system down and notified the LP company. So LP will go in there and they'll test. Take care. And then we had 3 calls to a residence here in town for lift assist, which is part of the ambulance service assistance. Same patient, he's been having some problems. So we're just trying to help him out and keep going along. Then we responded to a 2-vehicle motor vehicle accident. Thankfully, everybody was okay, we didn't have to do any extrication on that call. Then we were told to assist Grundy involving a tractor-trailer trash fire. Fun. The contents of the trailer were empty. We ended up emptying that contents out onto the street and extinguishing it from there. There are pictures on the fire department page for that. Then we were told to King Pine Industries for an alarm activation. That was a mechanical issue. And we were also told to a residence on 25A for an alarm activation, which was, burnt food, which I'd much rather see that than something else.
Sort of my wife cooking.
I'm not going to comment. Training. We've had 3 trainings this month. The items covered are as follows: water supply operations, mixed with source and pump operations. The next training we did was the Greenie training, where we had some portable pump training, which worked out real well. We use portable pumps all the time. And then the other training that we just finalized was vehicle education and patient rescue and overall operations of an accident scene. We had a lot of questions coming out about fuel leakage and how do we operate within that. So that's a process that we're working through with the new members. The old members have a pretty good handle on that, but good questions. So something that we're looking at, more in depth for that.
Seems like your new members are really motivated.
They are, and they're working real well. You see a big difference now than you did 3 months ago with the new members. So they arrive on scene, they're confident, they do their job, they know what's supposed to happen, for the most part.
Right.
There's always going to be something new that crops up, but it's working well.
That's good.
So meetings and inspections and preparedness of the fire department for storms. Along with our regular scheduled meetings, I've had meetings in reference to dry hydrants here in town, the usage, the upkeep, and possible additions in the future. And I've also had a meeting with a landowner looking at possible property for the future location of a fire station. I also had to meet with the fire commissioners on that same piece of property and just have discussions with them on that. Inspections, I just did the next to last inspection at the grade school today. For the most part, the fire safety codes are being met. We are discussing a little bit of the clutter in the storage room, and it's understandable that you're going to have that in storage.
Right.
But we need to have some clear pathways in there as well. So they're going to be working on that. What else I had? Preparing for storms. So I sent out an email to everybody. Basically what we have done in the past, and will continue to do and maybe improve on different things as we go, is I sent out an email, blanket email to all the firefighters and said, look, we may have to man the station, be ready. So they now know what that means. And if we open up the Emergency Operations Center, that team is going to come in and help handle whatever he needs, whatever you guys need, and then emergency services beyond. Okay. So we try to have that stuff laid out ahead of time, and it seems to work better. The last thing that I want to talk about is any outside burn. So we seem to have some confusion, and I'll post it again on the fire department Facebook page. But any outside burn, campfires, brush piles, chimeneas, outside portable devices for burning of wood product must get a fire permit. Okay. Even whether it's raining or not. So this is one of the things I ran into. Oh, well, it's raining, I don't need a permit. Well, you do, but yes, it's raining, and you can burn during a specific time for that. So there's some confusion, and I'll try to rectify that through here and through the fire department Facebook.
So we'll put that in the minutes, and then also in the weather report.
Yeah, I'll post it to the fire department page and cross-post to the board.
Okay.
And just so people realize, we are spot checking, especially if we get a call, somebody sees smoke, I'll look at it. If they have a permit, great. If they don't, we start out with a verbal warning and then go further if we have to. We usually don't have to. And that's it for me. Any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome. And there you are.
Thank you very much.
Paul?
I sent my report in. We've got all our winter sand put away already, which is great. We got all the mowing done a couple weeks ago. I'm going to talk to you guys a little more on that in a little minute. We've been preparing to get all our trucks inspected. We have put a little bit of money in the Freightliner. Absolutely nothing out of the ordinary for a truck. I mean, it might seem like a lot, but it's really nothing for a truck. Kevin Knapp's done most of the work. We rewired the lights, put the wiring harness back, and the whole bed of the truck. Truck's ready to go over to Freightliner as soon as I get the tires changed. Our 550 is in great shape. That'll be going over to Ames Auto here in the next couple of weeks. Other than that, I've had a few complaints. I got a frantic call on last Friday, screaming and yelling at me that we were cutting trees we weren't supposed to be cutting on Buffalo Road. I told the lady we were not cutting any trees. I didn't know what she was talking about. I went right over there. It was Asplund cutting trees in front of their house, opening up the power lines. She was not happy about it. I told her that she had to call the New Hampshire Electric Co-op, that it had nothing to do with us or the town.
Yeah, they have,
They have a right of way. I think it's 15 feet on each side of the line.
Exactly, 15 feet on either side, and they've been doing a good job.
So, I mean, it did open their house up to the road, which they didn't like, but nothing we could do about it. So the mowing and brush, pushing back some brush, I've had quite a few complaints. Jordan, you might want to step out of this conversation. I don't know if you want to talk about it or not. I've had complaints that we're not doing enough. We're not cutting the roads back far enough. I've had complaints we're cutting the roads back too far. You guys got an email saying that it was a waste of town money. I'm sure you all saw that email. I forwarded it to you. I have been hit by several people in the last week about mowing the edges of Hooper Hill Road, and got in an argument with somebody about it. I asked them, told them to come talk to you guys. I doubt they ever have, because they said they'd be at the next select board meeting.
That's an emergency lane.
It is an emergency lane. So what I have done, and I have a nice little pamphlet here for everybody, for the three of you and Linda, and I really think this ought to be posted on our website. There's a little legal question and answer. There's an RSA for towns, cities, village districts, highways, for emergency lanes and cutting of trees. There's a whole pamphlet here of maintenance revisited by the New Hampshire Municipal Association.
Link that you can just put
You
up.
can. I've got them all printed off. If you guys would just like to take them and read them. So
Paul, quick question.
Yeah.
Do you have it in PDF form? We're going to post it online.
I don't. You can go right to the website and get this stuff. Whatever you want. So I'm just going to give these to you guys. Linda can have one, you can each have one. You can do your reading. As far as emergency lane goes, I highlighted the second page that I just gave you, the question of the emergency lane, what its use is, who can do work to it, what can be done to it.
You gotta keep it passing.
Yeah, it's an old topic.
Yeah,
It's brought up over and over.
It's an old topic, and I have pretty much told all three people that I said, I'm washing my hands of it, you got something to say, I need you to go to the select board meeting. And obviously not one of them showed up here.
I have one suggestion.
Yep.
Next time, not that you did anything wrong, because you've been tasked with keeping that road open. So that's part of the deal.
The road looks great.
Next time, before you do anything to Hooper Hill Road,
Yeah.
because I'm sick of listening to people
Okay.
and all their crap, just bring it to the board and let them
We'll vote on it.
decide.
Okay.
I'll just stay out of it,
All right.
because I'd rather either let the road wash out personally, or I'll do all the maintenance myself.
Okay.
Listening to people complain
So
erroneously, looks like that.
I'm gonna, since you just told me to do that, I'll ask you. I have plans sometime between now and middle of October, November, before the ground freezes, to go up through Hooper Hill Road with a grader and pull out the ditch lines, because there is no ditch lines in that road.
I make a motion that, Paul, I make a motion that the road agent can grade and form ditch lines and do brush clearing as he feels indicated to preserve Hill Road as an emergency lane.
Can we get Chief Amos's opinion?
Sure.
Have you been through recently?
I have not been through in a while. When we talked about it becoming an emergency lane, I think there was some confusion at that point as to how we were going to fund it, any repairs or maintenance, and when those funds would be utilized. I think a lot of
There's money
people.
allotted for this.
Right, and that's, I believe, Linda, correct me if I'm wrong, is that in an expendable trust? Out of that capital reserve to be established
Which one?
for emergency lanes?
Yes.
Yes, I don't know how much we spend in it.
So that's not expendable?
It's 5,000 in it.
Yeah, we never spend any.
So if that's expendable, then the select board has the right to expend that pretty much anytime they feel necessary. Maybe not always just during an emergency, and I think that's where everybody
That's, you don't need to be fixing a road in the middle of an emergency. You gotta keep that emergency lane potentially open.
So the other confusing part to an emergency lane doesn't mean that it has to be fire truck capable.
As the ambulance.
You gotta read that.
Wait a minute, I
It
just read
says
this.
all emergency
All
vehicles,
emergency vehicles.
guns,
Okay,
ambulance, fire trucks.
Firefighting equipment, rescue, and emergency vehicles.
Yes,
So that changes things a little bit.
yes.
You got it, that's the definition of an
Okay.
emergency lane.
Yeah.
All emergency vehicles at all times.
So,
Before you.
No, that's fine.
Good.
I don't know, do we really need to make any type of motion since this has already been established already? We have the funds. If we want to actually keep this passable for emergency vehicles, then it should be, I just don't know if we actually need to make any type of motion to take money out of the expendable trust to pay for them. That's what I'm not sure about.
And
We just need a request.
you just need a request, don't make a request right now. And in addition to my motion, in compliance with RSA 231:59-A, state law. Just, I want this in the minutes, so if anybody has any issues, they just look at that state law and it addresses this.
So
You
Well,
finish?
no,
Sure.
we're on the same page, we're on the same page, yeah.
I do have some questions.
Okay.
If that's the case, for an emergency lane, are you maintaining that emergency lane for winter time access?
No.
Purely seasonal.
It states right in there will be no winter maintenance.
No,
None.
it's
None.
in the zero.
Okay, good.
So I just,
Right, wait a minute, I got
Nope.
an intern, go ahead.
I was just gonna offer, I have my bulldozer at my house, and it's not perfect for putting in great ditch lines, but if there's anything that I can do to help save the town money on that section of road that I can do to the quality we want, and not have to listen to the public about it, I already do 99.9% of the maintenance. I don't mind working on a section if it's gonna be beneficial. I'm not gonna have anything to do with this road, but I can do some work if needed.
I appreciate that, but Ray is gonna do a better job.
pulling a bit, all I'm gonna do, I just wanna make sure, there's gonna be no materials put into it. I've got nothing planned, no culverts, no spending money. It's literally gonna be labor and fuel. That's what this is gonna be this year. My plan is to pull the ditch lines into the road, and whatever I can use of the gravel, because there's a lot of gravel in the ditches, I won't lie to you. I went up there, there's gravel in the ditches. I'm gonna pull it up and we're gonna try to grade the road and put a crown on it when we're done ditching it. I'm gonna pick up the bulk of the material and get rid of it. It's a day, maybe a day and a half's worth of work. We're not spending
We have
weeks.
$5,000 allowed to, even if that's gonna fall within that.
Oh, I don't even need it. There's nothing, there's no materials.
Just
Yep.
verbalize it.
Well, it's later, right?
Yep.
Yes, right.
That was a motion.
I made a motion,
And
anyone want to second it?
I'll second that,
Okay,
and I'll vote yes.
I vote yes. I'm abstaining from voting, yeah, you should abstain. You know what, thank you very much for doing this.
Yep, I thought it was important to do that at this point. Secondly, if there's any time at the end, I'd like to have a non-public. First non-public would be about myself. The second non-public, you guys can tell me whether it would be a non-public or not. It's about a resident on Cheever Road that contacted me, and I had to go look at his driveway. That we, by crowding the road and putting more gravel on the road, we have created a wall of water that goes down his driveway and washes down his driveway now.
Whoa.
A lot of water
Okay.
by crowding the road, because he used to have it diverted across the road. Now there's a crown in it, the water can't get across it.
Okay.
So I don't know if that needs to be non-public or not.
It's just factual information.
It's
about
factual
condition of the
information, it
road.
doesn't,
Unless you're gonna, what's the term, negatively affect someone's reputation?
Right.
Okay,
As
well,
long as
so
you're
we'll go
not
through it
doing
right
that.
now. It's 308 Cheever Road. It might be a site visit for me and one of the select board members.
do you
Lee,
need glasses?
no, Lee Pierhall.
You got your glasses on?
It's right, he's like, Lee Pierhall.
I'm sorry. Say it again.
Lee Pierhall, I believe
Yes,
his name is?
okay.
Okay. So what we've done, his driveway, it's a paved driveway. And we put a crown on the road, we put 6+ inches of gravel on it, it's crowned so the water runs on both sides. Now that the water runs off both sides of the road, and we don't have the road washing out,
Goes down his driveway.
it goes right down around his driveway. He had somebody come in and do like $700 worth of work to put basically a French drain down the edge of the driveway, and over the last month, it's filled in with sand. And now the water's just rushing down his driveway. It's filled his catch basin out down his driveway. It's 3 feet tall, 3 feet around. It's full of sand. I gave him the remedy to fix it, which is cutting the pavement on the head of his driveway, putting a culvert in, and letting the water go under his driveway. And he's okay with that. Of course, it's gonna cost him a little bit of money. And he wanted to know, and I said I would ask. It's actually gonna help the town out in a lot of ways. If the town would supply the culvert and he would pay to have it put in, and his driveway repaved afterward. It's a 12-inch culvert he's looking for, and I'm okay with it just because it's only about a 100-foot run of water coming through there. 12-inch.
Yeah.
It's a regular 12-inch culvert.
That's not bad.
No, I mean,
What did you say about him having his driveway paved?
afterward.
We, the town, as I understood you, we supply the culvert,
Yep.
he supplies the labor and the job, and then pays it over.
All right, so new properties. What happens with new properties with the new driveway going in that would basically require a culvert? Who supplies the culvert?
The homeowner.
Okay.
Yeah. And I make a decision what size the culvert should be and if there should even be a culvert.
Now,
However, I
part of
can't,
the we're, you know,
we have an existing driveway. I can't go back after the driveway's been in for 15 years
he can't,
and tell them they have to put a culvert in.
Okay.
It's gonna help the town out. If you go out and look at it, you probably understand. It's gonna help the town out. I'm not pushing either way. And a couple $100 for a culvert, it's not even that.
I mean, I'm just.
It's $100.
Just.
$140 for the culvert.
We meaning the town, by
We, yes.
improving the road, did create the problem. The solution, he looks like, it seems like the homeowner is making an effort to take part in the solution, agrees with the solution. And I think if you've got $140 in the budget, I think the culvert,
I've got the
working
culvert down
together
the shop.
would solve this.
I've got the culvert already at the shop, like, it's in stock.
So you agree then that by what we did to the road, that we've kind of created the situation? Because I don't want to set a precedent.
No,
of us having to buy everyone's culverts.
I understand. The reason that it is the town, my fault, for the water running down his driveway now, is because Cheever Road now has a crown in it, and the water sheds to both sides. Before, the water ran down the ditch line, obviously, and he had it all set up, so the water would hit like a log that he had sitting there, and it would run across the road. But now, the middle of the road is probably 10 inches higher than that log over here now.
Sounds
So it
like
goes around the log and goes down his driveway.
he built his driveway right around the way the road was paved.
That's exactly what he
And
did.
now we've changed the road.
I agree.
Alright,
Okay.
alright, no, I think we're on the same page.
Okay.
You made a motion?
Do I need to make a motion on this, or just tell him?
I don't know. I make a motion to let Paul get the guy the culvert.
Alright, I'll second.
You want his name, Linda?
Want something more specific on the guy?
Pierre Hall, maybe? Yeah, okay, good.
Something more specific than a guy.
It seems like he's making an effort, you know, he's understanding, he's trying to work with you. Is he?
Oh, he definitely
Yes.
is. He simply asked me a question, and I said, there's a select board meeting today. I'll ask, that's what I said.
You seconded it, you all voted yes.
Oh, I didn't actually vote yes, but yes, I voted yes.
That's it for
And
me.
I want to make sure that this comes up at all, and specifically because we created an issue by trying to improve Cheever Road.
I agree.
Okay.
That's how it is.
Okay, perfect, okay,
Okay.
It's a unique situation.
yeah.
It's not a very consistent situation.
Yeah. And the thing I like about it is the landowner is working with the town. You know, to solve, that doesn't always happen.
They didn't come in saying, I have a lawyer.
No,
Not this time.
He's the lawyer.
He is a lawyer?
Yeah.
Well, I guess he does have a
And
lawyer.
a very good guy, very good.
I just thought of that. He's the lawyer.
I guess we better be.
he's a retired military veteran, and he is a lawyer.
He was in Marine Recon.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Update on the Class 6 Roads Committee.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, were you finished?
No, I'm done.
Okay, good. Thank God.
Me too.
So we met last Monday. We had a few less people. I submitted the minutes electronically. I don't have them with me, but there's minutes. We met at the Nichols Hill Bridge off of Route 25A. We inspected that bridge with the purpose of looking at the Class 6 Ellsworth Hill Road, or the section of Ellsworth Hill Road that is Class 6, to see if there was any reason at all for that to become an emergency lane as we're going through Class 6 roads this committee. So the purpose was to check out each end of that road, the Ellsworth Hill Bridge and the Nichols Hill Bridge, to check out the conditions of those bridges and the likelihood of us needing to use the Class 6 portion of Ellsworth Hill Road as an emergency lane in the near future. We did a traveling tour. We looked at Nichols Hill and the abutments and the stringers and everything. We then went up and parked on part of that Class 6 road. We walked down through a good share of the worst section of the road because Rick DeShano has personally fixed the other end, so we know that's fine. And then on the way out, we stopped by Ellsworth Hill, closer to the common, the main bridge on, is that Pond Brook? Pond Brook, yeah. And both bridges, I think I'm speaking for the committee, you were there, Arnie was there, and both bridges seem to be in good shape and not in immediate need of repair. And it seemed, in my opinion, unlikely that we would need to improve in an emergency the Class 6 portion of Ellsworth Hill Road in the near future.
So it was a low as I remember the meeting, it was a low priority potential to turn into a Class 6 road. Paul felt that if an emergency occurred, with simply bringing in gravel, the road could be made passable in 3 or 4 hours.
Oh, yeah,
Okay?
If you needed a rough day, it could be quick.
absolutely.
Emergency.
And, yes, and, we also discussed putting, farm gates at each end of the emergency lane, leaving the gates unlocked, but with signage,
Class 6 road.
Class 6 road. So, and we discussed using telephone poles for posts and a 14-foot gate.
So that basically leaves us with a landowner or two along that road need to request, like Ron J, to put in those gates, because we can't put the gates in
The town can't put them in,
unless they're within the 50 feet of the town right away.
well, you have to put it right on the edge of
Be
the
right on
road.
the edge. So basically, if somebody on that road were to request it, they completely seem to think that it would be
Yeah.
a reasonable idea. So we have.
That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, that was the suggestion of the committee. Rick, do you have any input on that?
Yeah, if you guys supply the poles and the gates, I'll put them in.
I can't buy them. The town can't buy them. We can't spend anything on Class 6 road.
The town's not allowed to expend anything on Class 6 roads. We can,
You can put up the
we can
signs.
talk to the, well,
I can put up signs, yeah.
I'm just trying to think. I can talk to the telephone company, get some telephone poles.
Then just one of those tractor supply aluminum gates, I think, or
Yeah.
if you do a chain gate or something, those aluminum ones are better.
Yeah.
Probably not, I don't know what they cost, anybody in here know what a 12-foot gate
There's a,
costs?
there's a farm up on, Nichols Hill there, they might have a couple kicking around or
Some of
something.
the gates.
Because the other guy that wrote in, he's gonna end up, he's requesting to buy and install his own gate, so we gotta be consistent across.
Yeah, oh, yeah, it's fine. Rick, what if we, get telephone poles and install the poles, and we can hang, and personally hang the gates?
Yeah, I use the same gates I have on my driveway, barrel gates, they're at the supply.
Right.
Yep. So are you requesting permission to do that? Because we could vote on something like that if you were requesting it.
Yes, I'm requesting permission to put in gates that won't be locked.
On each end of the Ellsworth Hill Class 6 portions.
And Paul, are you okay if we put telephone poles in for him?
Yeah, absolutely. Me putting them in?
No, getting the poles?
I might be able to personally get them, but I can't get them to the town. I mean, I know people at the co-op, I may be able to get a few used poles.
Okay, if we get some poles,
I'll make a couple of
yeah,
phone calls out or.
we can use the excavator on the other end and knock the poles in. Rick?
Yeah, all right, I can use my backhoe on my end, poles in there.
Okay.
If not, I think a pressure treated 4x4 or 6x6 would work in a pinch.
Those tend to, the gates, when put the gates up for cattle and stuff, those will swing.
You'd have to have concrete probably.
No, the concrete, water will get around the concrete, and it, will heat it. We put them in with pure ground, and, put them in a telephone pole 3 feet.
Okay. I make a motion to allow Rick Pacino to put up unlocked, easily accessible open gates on each end of the Class 6 portions of Ellsworth Hill.
I second it.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I need to order some more signs.
I've got 4. That should be enough. One at each end. Well, Rick's got one at the end, beginning of the road there anyway.
Yeah, yes.
And there's one at the beginning of, off of Nichols Hill now. There has been.
Rick, did you hear the vote?
Yes, I heard the vote, I didn't hear what Paul said.
Now, where the question went to Paul about signage. We want to, might not only put the gates up, but make sure we've got a clear sign to let people know that you know, there's a responsibility
Yeah.
not to damage the roads. And then, I think in the mud season, we should be able to fix these gates so they're locked. Just say,
We can never lock them.
I don't think
There's
you
no
can ever
scenario.
lock them.
Unless they were just continuing.
what about when you, close roads for, heavy equipment?
We can,
I don't know.
we can put temporary road closure,
That's what I'm
and
saying.
we can do that, but you still can never lock the gate. But we could give him permission to put even a Sharpie handwritten sign that says from such and such a date to May 1st or something.
It's mud
The road's
season, it's
closed.
exactly, it's mud, if you can just close the gates and keep people off the roads for mud season, it's.
It'd be deterrent.
Yeah. So do we want to do a vote on that as well? Just allow them to put up the sign, because it's gonna have to say
Make your
per
motion.
Wentworth
Yeah.
selectmen.
Making motion.
All right, so in addition to the gates, I make a motion that we allow Rick or someone else to put a sign for temporary road closure for mud season. The gates cannot be locked. And do we have a date that we would want to
You know what,
set? The date
mud
first.
season determined by the road agent.
If you pull up, you're not gonna know if it's not on the sign, what date, you don't give a date. Through the month of April, like May 1st, closed until May 1st. What do you think, Paul? You post the
Well,
roads in
wait a
town.
I think, actually had that conversation with Stephen Davis today when I was in here. I think somewhere between March 15th and April 1st, they should be closed until after, I'm just saying.
How about March 15th to April 15th?
Oh, I would say March 15th to June 1st.
June 1st, okay.
Don't you think, Jeff? I mean, that would be mud season. I mean, maybe you can open them early. It depends on the winter, it depends on the
We
spring.
gotta give Linda something to put in there, so March 15th to,
I would go May 1st. I mean, turkey season starts May 3rd, and by
Okay.
then usually everyone's driving the roads, and usually it's okay.
Okay.
If it ends up not being sufficient, then next year, just have them request it, we can change dates.
That's good.
That way we're not pushing it back too
May,
far.
okay.
So I'm gonna say May 1st. I'm sorry, Linda.
Okay, that's the motion, I second it. I vote yes.
Oh, yes.
I honestly, I need to say something on before I vote. Can we legally tell people that this road is closed?
Yeah, we do it on the town roads. Class 5 roads.
Every mud season.
For weight.
But for weight, right? But are you mentioning that you close it down for any travel?
No, I mean, any of the landowners, you can't stop any of them from going out there. It's just the people that are not supposed to go out there.
I don't know, just chief.
So I believe if you look around at some of the other towns around us, I'm gonna bring Piedmont, like the Piedmont Heights Road into this picture a little bit. And I could be mistaken, but I believe it has specific dates that they close that road. Yes, the gates are up, no, they are not locked, and I was thinking it said something like in April or May, from a certain time till that.
Okay.
So yeah, I believe you can legally do that.
All the dirt roads are closed during mud season for heavy trucking.
Right, but this is beyond that, I understand that.
This is beyond that, the heavy trucks ruin the roads, they ruin the crown, and if you use a pickup truck.
We're on the same page about that, but is the wording on that signage for closure, does that have anything to do with weight?
There is an RSA, you'll have to look it up.
Specifically weight, is this road closure, you're talking temporary road closure, have to do with weight during a specific period of time?
Passenger vehicles.
It's complete in the complete control of the selectmen of the town.
Right, you just can't lock the gate.
You can close it, you can do whatever you want. You can
Then if they
lock it.
drive through and they know that it's wet and that it's closed, and then you drive through, you're not a landowner, you're just someone going out there four-wheeling, you're then notified that you passed the class, you're on a class 6 road per RSA, that you're going to be charged with a crime if you damage this road, and you know it's soft because we said so, and it's closed. So then when you get caught out there, the landowners have recourse to pursue them in criminal and civil court per the RSAs. So it's just another,
And it gives,
Yeah.
gives ammunition to Wally when he goes out there.
right, they're notified, don't go out there, you're going to damage the road, because this is mud season.
Okay, I will vote yes. It's
I
something
did
you're very
buy
confident
in
in.
this fall.
Yeah, okay.
I'll look back through my notes.
Okay, when,
So is this portion of the road on Rick DeShano's property? So
This- no.
it says Rick DeShano to put up a sign on the right of way closure.
With the gates. The gates are on each end.
gates are on each end of his road.
It's not just on his property, it's each end of the road. The gate, the
Okay,
signs
so
on
he's
the
gonna
road.
put up the signs
We're giving him permission to put up the gates and
and
the signs.
Okay. And who provides the signs, and do they reference per order of the select board?
Well, their signs are already up there per order of the select board.
Oh,
We've
okay.
already got the signs already, they're all standing
But
there.
not the road closure ones, not the monthly.
Yeah, that's a temporary sign.
Yeah,
That is one thing, our
Sharpie
signs.
signs.
So that's gonna be Rick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, on the same line of Linda's question, it's great that the homeowners want to put that sign up, but is there something against the select board putting that road closure sign up? Is there something in the RSA's that state you can't do that? I'm just curious.
Last I checked with New Hampshire Municipal, and after this meeting, I'll verify, because I had asked them about that question. And from what I recall, I'll have to go back and look at the which I didn't see everybody, is that one, the selectmen have full control and authority over whatever happens on the Class 6 roads. The only thing is you can just never lock a gate. Other than that,
Okay.
we can, even during summer, we can post weight limits and bonds and any combination of factors that we want. And in fact, a few years ago, the town voted on the Saunders Hill Road where it intersects with Hooper Hill and then goes on the state snowmobile trail that's been in question. The selectmen 5-6 years ago voted to allow the club to put up a rope gate and per order of the selectmen, this road is closed due to mud season. And then somebody would move that sign around May 1st and it dried out.
Okay, that makes sense, absolutely. All right.
Okay. I think that's it on that. Okay.
The only other motion is that we allow, I'm gonna make a motion to allow the other owner, Ron Boucher, to do the same thing with signs.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I second that.
So wait a minute, but where is he gonna put it?
Yeah,
So,
that sounds good.
His was the one from earlier on Saunders Hill Road. We voted on earlier. Green can, yeah. We didn't talk about the road closure part. So we're gonna allow him to put the same, just to dot the i's and cross the t's here. He's gonna want
Everybody on the
sign.
same page.
That way it's equal. Rick's gates are gonna look the same as Ron's gates. If the snowmobile club does gates, theirs are gonna be the same, to be uniform. In a second.
I second.
All right, I'll vote yes.
Yes.
Update on the gravel pit.
I got the report in today, so I didn't get a chance to, I've looked through it.
So HEB did a deed research and surveyor's report. It's not a full boundary survey. The difference is, it's a boundary survey, they actually go out and look for the monumentation and the blazes and quarters and make sure the lines that are supposed to be there per the deed are actually being used and recognized and are where they're supposed to be. So that's a full perimeter survey. This is the deed research. It's not super complicated, but generally speaking, we had concerns because the river had moved in a storm, and there are certain situations where if a river moves, and as it says here, so it moves slowly over time, and your deed calls for your line to be the river. If the river moves over time slowly, your boundary fluctuates with the river. So in this instance, the river jumped by, 800 feet, something give or take that, and cut off 75% of the gravel pit. And their opinion is that that is not the case. The town still owns it, there's a survey, there's an old butter survey in here from Maycomber. I don't know if this is actually Linda's piece or, it doesn't matter. There's meets and bounds that specifically tie to the river, which is a good thing, because it doesn't just say to the river, it's got bearings and distances and corners that get you there. And that because it was a drastic change in a big storm, their opinion is the town still owns the whole 15-ish acres.
Yeah.
So that is their opinion. I'm trying to think of anything else that's happening there. They had some, in their deed research, they have some of the backgrounds, book and page numbers, and how the lot came in via taxes in 1992. Then they talk about how the river moved. In the 93 photos, the pit did not exist on the photo. It was visible in 03 and 08. And then in 2011, they claimed the Baker River moved.
Question, Drew.
Yep.
So, since even though the river moved and the town still owns the area that basically is cut off by the river now, how does that work? Sorry?
You have to the old riverbed.
Right, exactly, right. So how would that work? I mean, is that something where the river would have to be diverted back to where it was originally?
Need a bridge.
Just a
You need to engineer a bridge.
Okay, all right.
That's the only way to get there. The channel on the other side still runs some water, and it's a full-size, full-blown channel, so that's still wetland. You can't get to it from that side, on the railroad track side. And from 25, that is the river now, so you need a bridge.
Don't you need two bridges though? No?
Why would we need two now?
You need one to get across the channel that it made, the water runs through, and you need another something to get across the old riverbed.
Not following, they're the same thing.
From walking out there, all you need is one bridge.
Okay.
It really forks.
Okay.
The old thing was over by the train track,
Yeah.
and right along the base of the train track.
So that's basically gravel pit now, all that old riverbed.
Right.
Well, no, that's still technically in the wetland.
Well, that's what I'm saying about getting a bridge over it. You
Well-
can't travel through it.
We don't need to travel through the old one. It's the new one that we have to go over it, the bridge. And then we're between the old riverbed
Show me
and the
that.
new river.
I gotcha. I see what you're saying. So the gravel pit doesn't extend on the other side of that riverbed.
No.
Okay.
Here's
Okay.
25, there's
I
the
see.
driveway.
Yeah.
This is the old channel that's
That's
now the
right.
river. This is the old bed.
Right.
So we've got a strip of land here, and then we've got the main, this is the actual borrow pit that they dug.
See, I thought the land went across
No.
the riverbed is what I thought.
It doesn't, in fact, there's a no man's land right here that
Gotcha.
no one knows. Do you want to see it? Here's the new bed, here's the old road, there's the old bed. There's the pond where they actually did some digging. That's all that they actually really did out of the whole 50 acres.
You can kill yourself walking through it.
Oh, I
No,
know.
it's crazy thick and wet.
Yeah.
So I also reached out to, there's a company I know that just started a gravel pit, so I picked their brain about, they just started the permitting. They actually said that the DES permitting wasn't that difficult. They said you have to have an engineer to do it, but the DES permitting was actually not a big deal. What they ran into, this is in Andover, and what they ran into is that all the neighbors are suing them to stop it because of zoning,
The noise.
use, and noise, and blah, blah, blah. It's in the middle of the woods somewhere, but everybody is up in arms, and now they're dealing with that.
Well,
Getting the permit wasn't that big of a deal for them.
Okay.
there's no noise ordinance in Wentworth, and there's no zoning in Wentworth.
Correct.
So
Thank God.
a gravel pit can run.
So, do we want to start reaching out to excavation companies? I have floated out to a couple of conservation companies. I mentioned it to these people because they're really interested in talking about it.
From the email, the feds want to get involved with the wetlands as far as turtles.
NRCS. They have not gotten back to me.
Okay.
I just didn't know if we wanted to have Paul reach out to anyone he
Well,
knows.
I mean, I was just gonna mention to you guys, I mean, has the town decided to even sell it? I mean, or is it something the town's gonna hold on to?
I don't, well, we haven't decided anything.
No,
I
I
don't know
would
what
decide
we
that
do
before
with
you
it.
reach out to anybody.
Well, someone can always make an offer.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying, and then you just put you know, you do sealed bid together, and you say, your minimum price is $450,000, or whatever it might be. You know what I'm saying? That's,
Well, we gotta do our due diligence and measure the amount. There's wood value on the land, there's gravel value,
There's expenses on the bridge.
expenses of the bridge.
raw gravel's a couple bucks a yard.
Riverfront value.
There is at least one strip along 25 that you could potentially sell for a house spot that might go, you know, you might go through a subdivision where you have just the gravel pit and then like a house site or something. Though I guess if it's right next to the gravel pit, it might diminish some of the value. But we're on the river. So I guess now that I have this in hand, we have no more money for this year to do anything, any large expenditures. You know, we had the money budgeted to do this. Now we've got it, and together as a group, I guess we'll need to come up with guidance as we go forward, or well before town meeting if we need money for anything, and start figuring out what we actually want to do.
I think this, we might want to form a committee of interested people. Also the neighbors around there, to see, you know, to get
It's
input.
not on the news,
Oh, no, it is.
radios and the county letters.
Yeah, this is, and get input from everybody on where they want to go with this. Because I think from the town's point of view, you want to extract value.
Yeah, it has no value as it's been sitting.
Right.
We're trying to prove that it has value,
And the town
and what
is-
they do with the value.
Is it,
And the
is
town's
it,
not in the best financial position, so, you know, it would behoove us to see
There's
some value on it.
no buildable land in there, it's all floodplain.
Correct. Except for the section right on 25.
Right.
There's a spot there.
I think it'd be worth, you know, doing the same thing, just doing it not in the select board meeting, but just exploring all the options. And it'd be worth all finding out if anybody's interested.
Yeah, I think you reach out to anybody until you decide you're really gonna sell it, because
Well, I don't know, I mean, if someone can always call and make an offer, and at least then you know there's interest. I mean, if Andrew's called up, Andrew's Construction called up and said, we'll give you 300 grand, at least your starting point.
See, Paul, it has no value to the town the way it is.
right?
It has, the value environmentally is from a floodplain perspective, it would now be a body of water which would slow the overall flow of the river. And that's what John King ran into when he was developing his gravel pit.
We're gonna have to think it over.
Yeah, I don't have
So I'm
any
still
answer.
reaching out to some entities.
But I don't have an answer, but I think what we gotta do is get input from as many sources as we can.
If we're gonna do another committee, I'm gonna need help with that one. Because so far, I've been heading this and just doing this as a side project, but
I understand that, I'm just,
a committee with neighbors that are then concerned or maybe angry, combined with people who want to extract money, might be more than I can personally handle.
Instead of forming a committee, why not, maybe have a public hearing and bring everybody in and get some feedback that way it'd be a one-shot deal.
But without exploring further or having an offer
We
on
gotta have
the
a
table,
plan.
it's not
We
that
gotta-
much of a plan that we have. We have a lot of ideas, but.
Well, it sounds like the town is ready to sell it,
If we
I
have
would
the
say
right
we're
offer.
ready to sell it.
so I would say that you would send out at least people that have bought the land within a half a mile of the there,
Yeah,
not just the butters, but within a half a mile of there, send them out certified letters, let them know there's gonna be a public hearing, post the public hearing for 6 or 8 weeks, and see what you get.
But that's just gonna get citizens within a half mile. That's not gonna get Hiltz and Andrews Construction, and
No, it might, you never know.
we'd have to invite them to come.
Right.
They're not gonna come make an offer in that meeting. I guess my point is, as we're thinking about trying to maximize value, we might have to have a boring machine in there to actually get
Well,
to a measurement.
The reason I said that before you actually, have an offer is, I mean, if you have 30 very angry residents who don't want anything to do with gravel pit or selling it,
Well, that's only
because of
if
gravel
show
pit,
up.
are you still gonna sell it?
Well, there's 900 people in town, so if 30 show up and are angry. There's 870 more, we don't know what the opinion is. The only ones that ever show up are the angry ones. The ones that don't care are the ones that don't come. That's the problem.
Question, is HEP gonna do a study to see what the effects on the river are? They dig it out, like you said, is it gonna back up onto our properties?
The DES permitting, that's when they would do that. And if anything, it's actually, DES prefers something like this.
Yeah,
Because in a big flood, it has
they
an
want us to do
An
overflow.
overflow rate.
It's not gonna back it up. If anything, people downriver are safer because that 15-acre hole eventually is gonna hold a lot of water in a big storm. So
Probably,
DES actually likes to see these things.
that land is probably basically sitting on aquifer. The level of the river would be the level of the pond,
Right.
basically.
And then you dig down below grade and then you hit
Yeah.
non-gravel or sand.
I mean, there's a gravel pit just down the road, so I mean, all they gotta do is look at that and know that that's gonna be the same as a test site we put it up there.
Right, they've gone 15 to 20 feet deep.
Right.
And of course, there's some that's above, we're about 10 feet above the water level. If you can go 15 feet or so there, you can come up with a number, but
30 vertical feet.
But then, you gotta get someone that's willing to pay maybe hopefully hundreds of thousands of dollars. They may not be willing to do that without actually getting a boring machine in there, which we're gonna have to appropriate at town meeting and then do next year.
Well, not if we start to sell the land.
Well, that's true, but I'm just saying if no one comes in with an offer that's.
As a town, I don't think we're interested in running the gravel pit.
No, you're not.
No,
Period. So.
But we would be interested in
Proving
understanding the exact
there.
value, right?
Yeah, we gotta know the value, because if, say it's what, $2, you got $2 to $3 a year.
Rough, no, rough gravel is a couple bucks a year. And it's gonna be it's gonna be smaller than 24 inches for it to be
Right, and if you
raw
go
gravel.
15 feet down and
I'm
it's
just
12
saying.
feet up, and you do it, you got probably, what, 1 million cubic yards?
I think last time we estimated it was something between 800,000 and 900,000 cubic yards of sand and gravel.
Almost.
Mixed.
But do we
So
want
you multiply that up, so it's a $2 million project.
right, so, but do we want to base say we were to put it on for sale, or we want to base a minimum bid off assumptions?
Well, that's the point. That's what a
Okay.
boring machine
Yeah.
would
Right,
take
right,
that out.
right.
Anybody that's gonna buy that has a gravel pit now and knows anything about
Well,
gravel,
they'll figure it out.
they are going to sign a purchase and sale contingent on,
Boring.
Okay.
they are not just gonna say, yeah, I'll take it.
That's
It's
right.
gonna be contingent on many different things, of boring samples, depth of the water. Believe me, they're gonna,
We'd have to pay for that up front to do it.
no, they will do it.
Well, if they're interested. So quick math, there's 1,600 yards per foot per acre. If there was 12 acres, because you have to leave
Buffers.
and if it was 25 feet deep, 10 feet and 15 below, that'd be roughly 480,000 yards of sand and gravel. So if there was $3 a yard, that'd be $1.4 million. Then you gotta take out the bridge.
You
and
gotta take
the
out
permitting.
the permitting, I mean,
But still, I mean,
one
there's enough
point,
play there that it's worth it somehow.
If
You
there's-
just gotta find a way to maximize that value.
500,000 yards of gravel, you probably would hope to get 450 to 500,000 for that piece of property.
That could go towards a new fire station.
I'm saying you'd hope to get that, it really depends, I mean,
At the moment, it's worth
Well, that's
it.
all the negotiation.
oh, right.
So I guess as we go forward, I'm gonna need help figuring out what the town wants to do, and if it comes to town
What
meeting.
would be
we'll
the
deal
timber
with it.
article?
Negligible, I guess. If you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, if there's 10 grand, it's kind of a wash in that kind of number.
They just go and flop it all down, clear cut it, and be done with it.
That's, yeah, that's as well.
They chip it all. throw it in the chipper
Yeah,
again.
there's some logs that they can move back there, but you gotta build a bridge and everything
Oh,
first.
I know.
The thing here is, Arnie, the committees don't necessarily have to be manned by someone on the select board. I mean, the committee could be formed by members of the public in town, right?
Yeah,
So,
we just need
we
that
just
interest.
figure
I
out.
mean, if people are interested in pursuing what are the best options, you know, I'd rather do that out of the select board meeting so that when people come, they get a concise analysis to it.
Well, it's at least staying on the old business, so it's gonna keep coming up.
What about putting it on a warrant article for the town to vote on?
Maybe to either get the boring machine or just to put it up for bid, something like that.
Yeah, just to put it on one article for the town to put it up for sale.
So I guess, in conclusion, we're gonna have to work on it. We got the deed report, that was the end of phase one.
We
gotta
can
start
start, Jeff,
formulating
sell
phase
it.
two. What's Chief Ames think?
I would say wait for the next big storm and then let the river do what the river needs to do, go back to its original direction.
And you don't need a bridge.
When you go to the bridge.
It'd save quite a bit of money, but at least it's not town road bridge money. A bridge just for dump trucks that's
Oh, yeah.
not on a town road. It's gonna be stupid expensive, but it's not gonna be $900,000.
No, you get a bridge in there for 150,000.
Yeah.
That'll hold 100 ton. Easily.
So that all gets factored in, taken out of the gravel money, basically.
Okay. Update on the FEMA obligations. We've exhausted that. I don't think we came to any solution.
I'll keep working on it.
Okay.
Well, Paul Hatch, did you get Paul's latest email today?
I saw it, he sent some prospective dates. I haven't had enough time to look through them to see what works, but we'll have to go to the email chain. Anyone that wants to be involved, shout out dates that work for you. If not, I'll handle it with Paul and Chris Sawyer.
So
It's a meet and greet for a new FEMA rep.
You want me to give you the dates now? If you guys want to try to pick, because
I'll probably have to look at my schedule in more detail, but sure.
it's the week of September 7th through the 10th. He's looking at Monday is Memorial Day or Labor Day. There's no meetings. Tuesday, which is 9/7, they can do it 9 to 10 in the morning. They can do it 11:30, between 11:30 and 2:30. He said you also have to leave at least an hour for this meeting to go on. Wednesday 9/8, they can do 8:30 and 2:30.
Wednesday night.
Wednesday 9, which is the September 8th, they can do 8:30 or 2:30. Thursday, September 9th, they can do 9 to 10 a.m. or anytime between 11:30 and 2:30. Friday, they can do anytime between 8:30 a.m. and 2:30 p.m.
So ideally for me, without knowing.
None of them work for you.
Well, no, I guess Tuesday, Wednesday are better for me. I have a subcontractor that comes and works Thursday,
Yeah.
Fridays. So Tuesday,
Why
Wednesday
don't
are
you
my
pick it
preferred.
because I'll adjust my schedule.
Okay, I'll send it through the email chain. We'll all look at our schedules. We've got some time.
Tuesday the 7th at 9 o'clock.
That will probably work.
That would be good.
Okay?
Work for you.
And I gotta just get it done. And this is gonna be a Zoom meeting?
Yep.
Yeah, well, they use their own. It's not Zoom. It's a different company, but it's the same thing. Yeah. It's a FEMA.
So would you come here and do it?
If there's gonna be enough of us that wanna get together, if not, I'll just do it from home. Whatever, it's all
You wanna be on it?
What's that?
You wanna
He
come
should.
to this? Yeah.
On what?
That
Zoom
Zoom
meeting.
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant on a gravel pit committee. I was like,
No.
Yeah, I'll do the Zoom meeting. He also asked in the email that we invite Chris Fournier to it, please.
Yeah, I think I already forwarded it to him. I'm gonna forward that, yeah.
Would
So
you
yeah,
want-
Chris Fornier will have some say over that date and time. Because he needs to be there.
Just let me know.
Yeah, we'll go through the emails and we'll figure it out.
Great.
And Linda should be on it too.
Yep, I'll send it
So,
along.
the Tuesday would work. Well, the Wednesday.
Okay, I'll try to make that my plan A. If Chris Warrior can't do it, then we'll have to work. He is needs to be there. Other than that, no updates.
Okay, Andrew?
Let's see, New Hampshire Electric Co-op broadband. So, I've had various different people reach out to me on this topic, and the co-op is not being very cooperative in giving me like more detailed updates, which I'd like. As of right now, the last email I had sent off to them and got a reply, this was back from one of their executives, and I had mentioned this at the previous meeting I was at here. It's going to be the same update, and that is, I showed my concern with the timeline that they had with the infrastructure build out in Wentworth. It sounded like Wentworth was basically being put on the back burner. I showed my my concern, the email, and they assured me back that they're still going to adhere to the timeline that they indicated on the call we had back in February.
They better hurry up.
What's that?
They better hurry up.
Well, that timeline is that they would start their surveying this summer, and they would complete the build out within 24 months. That was what they.
They were talking about finishing that initial phase in August.
The initial phase was going to be starting around July August timeframe.
Right.
The surveying, and that they would be completed after they started. They would be completed within 24 months. The entire build out, the entire infrastructure, and have everyone installed at that point. So that's what they said back in February. He also indicated via email after I showed concern that they will still adhere to that. So that's where we're at the moment. I can't give any specific details on exactly where the build out's going to start. Everybody knows exactly what I know at this point, and that's unfortunate. I don't have any further details.
Doesn't really show that well for that company that's trying to get all of our business.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't reflect very well.
Are you giving any consideration to the Grafton County Broadband Committee? I mean, they seem to be on the ball, especially with the town administrator from Bristol.
Starling's going to be in this area in September.
Right.
I sent you his email. And
Right.
Starling.
Yeah. Initially, the Grafton County Broadband Committee wasn't going to be building out initially anything really that would benefit the residents from what I understood. It was going to be something more related to town infrastructures and such, related to like municipalities and schools and that sort of thing. So I had not put as much effort into that at that time. I think as time goes on here, I mean, again, this is the entire Grafton County project. If there's any type of funding that we possibly would need to give, I have not heard about that at all as of yet. But I can continue to get up. I can get more updates from them. I have not been getting regular detailed updates from them, but I can definitely start doing that more so.
Well, they just applied for
Yeah.
the $34 million.
It sounds like
grant.
It sounds like New Hampshire Electric Co-op came out, with a lot of promises, and then they fall on their face.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. It's just that they're
Well,
being
they're not
very
even
vague.
responding to your request.
What's that?
They're not responding to your request.
They did. They responded to my request, but they're just continuing to be generally vague in their responses. They are still adhering to the timeline they originally promised us back in February, which if they adhere to that, then that's outstanding. It still would be faster than and a whole lot cheaper than what Consolidated Communications was going to do for us.
I'm
It's
just
August
close to
24th right now. it's August 24th right now.
Right.
They said they were gonna do it in July and August.
July, that is the start of their survey.
Right. I haven't seen a single survey.
No, it's not like, it's not like surveying the residents, they are basically going around to check their polls, checking infrastructure to validate exactly, what they need to build out the infrastructure.
Okay.
That is the actual, like, the surveying of the polls specifically, not the residents.
And they were vague with that?
I can read off the email specifically if you'd like.
No, it's just, if they're vague, I mean, if they got trucks out working, they should be able to say, we've had this done so far.
That, what I may need is maybe some additional, what's the right word, maybe additional attention maybe from us, maybe I mean, I can send an additional email, or if you'd like, we can send some type of like joint crafted email that's a little bit more.
I would just get back to them and say, look, we had a select board meeting, there were questions on the process, we don't understand your process.
Okay.
How can we understand how you're mitigating this? What are your metrics? Are you up to your metrics for this?
I could ask them on a regular basis, or you know, are you on schedule to meet?
And if you are, what are the metrics that guide you?
Yeah. Is there a question?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Normally when this stuff happens to me, I get irritated, and then I just go right up to the highest person that I can possibly get on the phone or send a letter to. Would it make sense on town letterhead to draft a letter from the town that we all sign and state the date that they met with us and all the information they promised, right in the letter, and then send it from the town of Wentworth, signed by the selectmen, to the highest ranking official you can possibly get his mailing address to, and go right over their head. Go right to the president, send it, certified mail, does a sign for it or something.
Yeah, and honestly, even their town hall meeting that they had within the last couple of months that I was on, they were extremely vague on that. There was multiple people asking questions about it. The most vague answers you could ever get.
Just put that in the letter and tell them that we're considering going with someone else. We'd like to use them, but
How about this, Linda, I'll work with you on getting something and maybe we can sign off on the next meeting.
to craft a letter
Yeah,
and then send it out ahead of time.
Linda, if you got the letter ready ahead of time, just give me a call, we'll come up and sign.
Okay.
I think they have a bi-weekly board meeting, I saw online, you could request. to
Say again?
attend. They have a bi-weekly board meeting
Right,
that you can request to attend as well.
okay.
Okay, maybe we can use that as the next avenue.
And try to reach up high and get someone's attention that doesn't want to lose a whole town's worth of business for the next 30 years. When's the next time new internet's going to come Wentworth?
Well, it's gonna be.
It's gonna be a while.
Well, it's gonna be satellite internet within the next 5 years.
So we'll see. When they built DSL in the 90s, I bet they didn't think I'd still be using it in 2021. Which I am, by the way, and it sucks.
I get constant complaints from various different people, and honestly, people are ready to move out of town. Some folks are,
Yeah.
because they're just really sick of the lack of broadband. Can't even really stay broadband. There's a very small, well, I shouldn't say very small, there's a portion of town that Spectrum offers broadband, but even then, it's not the entirety of the town.
Okay, letter on the crosswalks?
So last meeting, I was not in attendance the last select board meeting. The last meeting that I was at, you were gonna speak to DOT.
Yeah, they said they weren't gonna put a crosswalk in, and they would put signage in.
Okay.
They put signs in, where it's got a little walking person.
Yeah.
It says, people crossing for the next half mile.
Okay. Is that,
That's the solution we're getting.
That's the solution we're getting.
You'd have to go fight with the traffic bureau. Good luck.
So we don't need a letter.
Due to COVID, they're not going to be making
Right.
phone calls.
At the last meeting, I sent a talked about that sign being up. You know where the cemetery is?
Yeah, the sign is there already, but are they putting additional signage?
No,
Oh,
I think they said that that was the sign they
That
brought.
was the sign they
It's
put
gonna
up.
stay.
oh.
Because they had this discussion before.
They don't want people trying to stop in that hill.
No,
Winter.
frankly, the size of the truck coming over, if people think they're in a crosswalk and it's a secure position, those trucks can't stop.
You're not safe.
You know,
Just
so-
Even going down by Shawnee's isn't really safe.
No, you gotta look both ways. But
Yeah, as someone who walks there, I think a crosswalk would cause more problems and make people feel
secure.
too secure. And
Right.
pedestrians, as a pedestrian frequently through that area, you know where I live, you need to be watching everywhere. You can't rely on other people. I never rely on cars. It's just, we're trying to make these too insulated.
And that was the DOT's response, is they felt that it would give people a false sense of security.
Okay.
Um, discussion, Avatar?
Right, so I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that in more of a personal one-on-one, or actually a personal non-public with you guys. But I did eventually speak to Jaren's supervisor on the phone. I ended up, and this was a conversation before I was going to have a more in-depth conversation. She indicated some of the same things that Linda, you and I had spoken about before, and I think we even spoke about in a meeting that, that there was sampling done by the state, that they all came back perfectly. The only problem was, I was going to have a meeting with her, in a more in-depth meeting, probably at least over an hour. I ended up having to cancel that personal emergency that I've been dealing with, and I'll talk to you guys about that in a non-public. So I'm trying to still work on the Avatar issue. Something that was brought up in a non-public as well, to try to figure out exactly issue with response times from Avatar, and if we still want to try to get somebody in here, I'll still work on that, but I've not been able to dedicate as much time as I need to try to get stuff done. So, unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot on the topic.
I met with revenue guy today, and he was going around checking the properties to double check what Avatar did. So, that's actually ongoing.
Okay. I was just gonna ask, Linda, the Lookaway Lane room pool that we had, I think before you said that they had appealed to Avatar, and that didn't change with the beach thing. Is that something that we might have to go as a selectman and like go down there and look at?
No, first of all, I talked to Jaren the other day. He's willing to come in to select a meeting if we want to advertise it, to encourage people to come and all their questions.
We'll need a school for that.
Well,
So many people
I
come.
mean, maybe we would do an advertisement and say, okay, let me know if you're coming. And we'll do a meeting and you join the meeting or whatever. So they can ask specific questions like, why am I getting charged of beach cracks and all that. But back to the Lookaway Lane people, well, Jaren and his supervisors all took a very in-depth look at the neighborhood. And instead of calling it water access or waterfront, they have a new category that's called amenities.
Oh my gosh.
So they took off all those erroneous waterfront charges and figured out the cost of the amenities, just being in the neighborhood, having access to the river, having a nice road, a nice, I have never been down there, so I don't know, evidently it's kind of nice. And then they divided it up between all the people in the association. And based on acreage and implication, well, at least half of the people actually got an increase in their assessment. So it didn't do them much good, especially the louder ones.
So they appealed and then got an increase?
Well, yes,
That's not gonna
it's
be.
not so much, yeah, I know.
You guys can
And
be
they
in a
just
bubble.
got their notices sent out last Monday, and I have heard from a couple of people already. And I told them what the process was. The process is, you can't change it, it's dictated by the DRA. The process is to wait for your December tax bill to come out. We will be setting a new tax rate. They get that, then they need to file for an abatement, and the abatement comes first to the select board. And the select board has the decision as to whether to accept the abatement or reject it. And you can also negotiate it if they want 50 off and you give them 10 off or something. You know, to see if that satisfies it. And if it doesn't, then they have to go to the BLTA, Bureau of Land Trust Association. And that is also in conjunction with zoning court.
That's not a DRA?
No, the DRA sets the rules, then you have to bring it to the Bureau of Land Trust, which
Bureau of Land
I think,
Trust, yeah.
I think is federal.
It is.
Federal appeal?
So, and
So
then
that's
you
at
go
the
to
point of them
Superior
suing us?
Court. Well, they can bring it that far, yes.
So when do they hit the Supreme Court?
Huh? Oh,
Okay.
so, I mean, hopefully, I mean, you have to make a good decision, and they probably won't get anywhere in court, because everybody's valuation went up.
Right.
And if you give somebody an abatement, you've got to be careful not to set precedents. Has to be for a specific reason, and, I mean, it's not going to be an easy thing.
They can't do this until December tax bills, that's the proper.
Because right now, Avatar has assessed it, they've done their reassessments of the.
And DRA is rechecking everything right now.
The DRA is auditing them, yeah, and,
That's what I
they
had
will,
mentioned earlier about the numbers that Limited indicated to me before.
they will, Avatar is almost set to give us the figures of the assessment. They're still wrapping up a few things.
It is,
And once they pass that over, that is what the DRA uses in helping us figure our tax rate out. It's totally out of our hands. The DRA does, I mean, they,
what, any type of, I suppose, appeals or objections to the original letters that had went out, that's one thing that Jared's supervisor indicated that all of those had all been completed. I failed to mention that earlier. And those, from what I understand, they had all been resolved. She did not indicate whether they had all been resolved to their liking,
right,
but she did indicate that. So anyone that had contacted them,
yeah, it's completely, they're just wrapping up. They are working, we are working on the current use, verifying the current use acreages, things like that. That's a big job, and I would expect it's going to take about 30 days for us to finish that
That's
up.
a lot of current use.
There's gonna be a lot of people on the agenda in December, these tax
I'm
bills.
going on vacation.
Well,
I don't
you
get
have
that.
to think our tax rate will be going down.
But not for this bill though, correct?
First of all,
Yeah, For
it
the
goes
December
down in
bill?
December, yeah.
Okay, so people, so if the tax, their assessment went up, but their assessment on the upcoming bill in December is not gonna be the $26 that we had for this
Right.
previous year.
I,
So in theory, even though the assessments went up, we're not gonna over collect money because of the higher tax rate and the higher assessments.
That's
Right,
why
so-
DRA works with that. as well.
Okay, because people have been asking me about that, thinking we're gonna take this extra money in, and I didn't know what to tell them. I don't know that this process
I don't
works.
know.
I mean,
It's good to know though. is that-
overall,
It's gonna be about the same.
So your bill should end
well,
up
it's not,
approximately.
yeah, I would say overall, probably a little bit higher, but not as bad as people are expecting to see. Because, you know, they don't understand, we can't predict what the tax rate's going to be.
We don't even set it, right? DRA sets the tax.
Right, the only thing that we have, any control over is to use a portion of our retained fund balance to lower the tax rate. And instead of 100,000, it's gonna be, to lower it by $1, it's gonna be 30,000, to lower it by $1. Right, because of the new, assessments. But, I mean, it's all gonna be figured out in the next couple of months.
Looking forward to that.
Okay. At this point, I'm gonna move, any public comments?
Anything on YouTube or anything like that? Anybody online?
I have no comments.
Everybody on Zoom, comments?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, can I make a motion that we move into a non-public session?
I'm gonna, I'll do my non-public next time. You guys get enough to do tonight. We've been here long enough.
Okay.
We won't take long.
Huh?
We have two. You're not one of the two on the
No,
list.
not one of the two on our
But
list.
it's a short one. I told you to ask them.
Yeah.
It's up to you if you want to do it. It's a short one.
If it's a short one, I'll do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do it.
So who said?
I second.